Hey, welcome to video number 6 in this tutorial series for the ZBrush Face Tool plugin for Character Creator 4. In this video, we're going to concentrate on the dynamic wrinkles. We're going to create all those crevices and details that are formed when we have a different expression. And it is really fun. It's one of my favorite parts of the process. And this plugin makes it really simple. We only have to tweak a few sets, 13 expression sets, and then Character Creator or the rig inside CC4 will take care of the rest, and it will apply the different wrinkles dynamically as we change the expression. So it's a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Alright, so before we get started with the sculpting of the dynamic wrinkles in this video, I just want to give you a quick recap of what we did in the previous video, which is, this comparison that I have here on the screen. Basically, the character we started with in the previous video was the one on the left-hand side, a very weird, creepy smile, and then we went ahead and we tweaked the expression of the smile to get something a bit more natural and more realistic and more genuine. So this process is very important, and this is the reason I'm highlighting it here, because in order to get the right wrinkles, or in order to get these dynamic wrinkles, we need to get these expressions right. So if you haven't actually completed the 13 expressions for, or tweak the 13 expressions to get something that is more natural, then it's going to be a little bit harder to get the dynamic wrinkles to work in a natural way. So make sure that you tweak all your expressions, and then we're going to move on into the wrinkles. Now, let me give you an example of the wrinkles, of the dynamic wrinkles. So I have here this guy with an expression of, I don't know, like shock or disgust, or it's pretty surprised. And these wrinkles that you see here at the top of the eyebrow, some of the ones here with the sneering of the nose, they're not that evident. They're a little bit subtle here. The ones here at the corner of the mouth, all of these are dynamic wrinkles. So let me give you a comparison before and after. So the one on the left-hand side is the same expression using the character that we ended up with in the previous video, and the one on the right-hand side is with the dynamic wrinkles applied to it. So as you can see, the one on the right-hand side is a lot more expressive, and in my opinion, it's a lot more natural, and this is all done thanks to the dynamic wrinkles. So we're going to move on from something like this into something like that, basically. So we're going to add all of these details, but you'll see it's a lot of fun. I just want to give you an example of how the dynamic wrinkles actually works. It is really cool. So I'm going to reset this to 0. And this is the character that I ended up with all the dynamic wrinkles already applied to it. So we're going to come back to this. Let me go ahead and let's actually put pull these nostrils up. So you see, let's get closer here, what is happening. So it's just applying that wrinkle or those wrinkles dynamically. Let's leave them as it is. And then let's go ahead and clear this up, and then use these controllers to pull the eyebrows down as well. There we go. So this is an angry expression. So that's pretty cool. Let's remove that. I'm going to set it back to 0. Just show you a couple more with the corners of the mouth. And I'm just choosing the ones that are more obvious, really. So you see, as he smiles, now we have this additional level of detail with the smile, right? That it wasn't there before. So pay attention to the, to the line or to the fold that is formed as I push this up, right? So that's pretty cool. And you see also around the eyes, that there's also some extra lines that are appearing, and we can exaggerate that by pushing the cheekbones or the cheeks up and squinting the eye. So all of this is happening dynamically, and it just makes the whole expression a lot more interesting and a lot more genuine. Obviously this is a bit too extreme, but you see the smile, it has changed things quite a bit, right? Let me just also show you the eyebrows as we push them up. And we get the forehead full of these nice wrinkles that look pretty realistic. And like I said, these ones are dynamically applied to the animation or to the rig, right? So basically, we can sculpt these lines in just one single layer, right? But then, if I go ahead and only move, let's say, the left eyebrow up, you'll see how only this area would be applied, or only the wrinkles in this area would be applied, which is pretty cool. Right? So again, these are pretty exaggerated, but as you can see, just adding this extra level of details and these dynamic wrinkles really help to push this character into a much more realistic space, even though it's a bit stylized. So let's set this back to 0. So what I'm going to do is actually load up the previous file that we ended up with in the previous video. So this one is the one that I already tweaked all the expression and the dynamic wrinkles. So we're going to start from scratch, as in we have all the expressions ready, and we're going to focus only on creating those dynamic wrinkles. So let me just show you what that looks like. So as you can see, it's pretty much the same thing, but now if I, let's say, push these eyebrows up, it is working, but it doesn't generate any extra wrinkles. So that's what we're gonna concentrate on doing in this lesson. Let me just show you also the corners of the mouth. I think these ones are pretty obvious as well. So you see, it is working nicely, creating the nice expression, but we don't have those extra lines. So let's go ahead and leave it just like smiling. And what I'm gonna do is send this to ZBrush. And I just want to mention that I don't have any version of ZBrush open at this point. And I think it's important to recognize that it works as well without having ZBrush open. So what I'm going to do is click on Kevin, or the name of the character, right? Click on Plugin, ZBrush Face Tool, and I'm going to click on Face Tool. So this process, if I click OK, Best Model Only, again, the same deal we've been doing before. This time I'm gonna make sure I maintain the level 7 of subdivision so that I can really get into the high level detail for the crevices and all the wrinkles. I'm gonna click on Go Z. Now this process is going to also start up ZBrush. So it's pretty convenient. You only have to click one single button and adjust a few settings if you want to have something specific. But other than that, we'll just wait until ZBrush is open and the entire project is set up in ZBrush, and we continue from there. All right, so here's the character in ZBrush, and I just want to point out something that is quite interesting as well. So I do have multiple versions of ZBrush. I run different versions depending on what I'm working on. So this one is version 2022.0.5, and as you can see, this is still my custom UI. So the cool thing about this is that this is the version of ZBrush that I was working on just before I load up this project. So it just recognizes the latest version and it just opens that up. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create a new document. I'm going to make it double the size, and let's drag this in, and I'm going to change the material, and let's go ahead and click on Preferences and restore the standard UI so that you can follow along. I'm also going to get rid of the 3D cam view as well as the thumbnail here on the left hand side. So under the Preferences, thumbnail and cam view, I'm going to turn this off and off. Perfect. I'm also going to go and click on AA half. So it's going to show me half of the document. You see, when I click AA half, because this is a larger document, I'm going to get rid of all these sort of anti-aliasing and jagged edges. So let's click on that. It's a lot better. Alrighty. So we are ready to continue. These details that you can see here, those are created with the base layer of the detail layer. So let's go ahead and turn this off for a second. And let me just set up the Z plugin back in here. And let's go ahead and open up the ZBrush Face Tools. There we go. So we have the detail layer enabled. Now, the way that you edit these dynamic wrinkles is the same way, the same process of sculpting in ZBrush, but the way that they work in CC4 is slightly different. So they are completely different, or a separate system from the detail layer that we have here. So just keep that in mind. There will be like separate layers, so it's a separate system. So it's good to have a base, a base layer of details like I have in here already, and then you can add your expression details separately, right? And I'm going to show you how you can sort of compare the two. So if I go ahead and let's go ahead and start with the smile, because that's what we have currently. Let me just check. Yep. So we have the smile here with the character. I'm going to click on mouth smile. Click on that. Again, the behind the scenes of what the plugin is doing is going through the subtools, especially selecting the head, going to the layers that have been generated based on the expressions, and enabling that specific layer that has the mouth smile so that we can add the details. All right, so now we have this, and let's go ahead and open up the layers. You see the mouth smile is currently recording. That's what the switch is doing. And we can go ahead and turn on and off the detail layer. So we can do it from this switch here, or we can just click on this icon right here, turn it on and off. There we go. So this is currently, there's no details in this expression or in the dynamic wrinkles, but I can just go ahead and turn on this layer, which again, it is the base layer, and then I will be able to see both, or the contribution of both details, right? So that's pretty important. Let's go ahead and start recording again, just by enabling recording in the mouth smile, and we're gonna create the first wrinkles, the first set of wrinkles. Now I'm gonna also make sure that I'm in the high subdivision level, which by default should be once we click on this one. So subdivision level 7, perfect. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring in one of my custom brushes. So let's bring in the lightbox. Again, it doesn't have to be this. You can use the damp standard brush. Is a pretty good replacement to what I'm gonna use. So I'm gonna use the scheme brushes, and within the scheme brushes, I'm going to use the wrinkle pusher 2. So, or maybe the wrinkle pusher, not the number 2, the number 1. This one is going to give you a much more control effect. All right. I'm going to make sure that I don't have symmetry enabled, because, you know, when you get to this level of detail, very rarely you'll have a very symmetrical shape. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some lines in here, maybe reduce the intensity a tiny bit, right? And these are the lines that are going to be formed when we have that this expression, right? Maybe the pusher is a little bit too strong. Let's go with number 2, just a different way of generating these lines. There we go. So just think about, in terms of the expression, just think about what are the areas that get pulled, like the skin gets pulled and it generates this, you know, this contraction, this compression folds or wrinkles around the face. So you probably won't need as much of these wrinkles anymore, because, you know, there's no compression here. We're actually pulling the skin up. There we go. And I'm going to actually use the damp standard brush so you can follow along, and it will give you a much more, like a stronger effect, really. So I'm going to push this like so. And this is another part of the process that is really important to keep an eye on your references. Again, just look at the different expressions and see what are the lines that are formed. If you can compare, I mean, if you have maybe an actor or something that you have a couple of different expressions, just compare which lines are in a more neutral pose or the opposite of the smiling, and then you will be able to see. So I'm going to push this in a lot more, just so you can see the effect. And I kind of like, I'm exaggerating things a bit in here, but I just want to make sure that the effect is pretty evident, so you can see what I'm doing. You can also use the standard brush and maybe add a tiny bit of volume. Again, just think that any volume that you add for the wrinkles is going to be added as the normal map, so it's not going to actually displace the geometry too much. That's done with the expression. I just want to add a tiny bit of volume, because ultimately when you add when you create wrinkles, you're ultimately adding volume. So there's going to be compression, and yeah, so this is kind of like the idea behind it. All right, so this is pretty obvious. Just to make it even more obvious, I'm gonna actually do a couple of lines, maybe with the damp standard brush, a couple of lines around here, around the nose, because that also gets compressed quite a bit. And yeah, just accentuate those lines in there. There we go. All right. So I think that looks good. And if you want to compare the details that you did and the crevices that you created compared to the you know, to the base layer of details, you can just turn off the detail layer, and you'll see it's going to look a little bit weird because it's just details on the on this specific mouth layer. So it's not great, right? It looks like a little bit wonky, but it doesn't matter. Remember, all of this is going to work nicely together. So as long as with this, you know, detail layer, everything looks good, that's all you need. So that's it. That's how you can sculpt a series of wrinkles for a specific layer or for a specific expression. Let's go ahead and do a couple more. I'm going to click on the brows raised. I'm going to click on that one. And again, the same process. The behind the scenes is that it just switches to a different layer, turns on the recording of that specific layer, and then you can sculpt all of your details in there or in that layer. And then CC4 will take care and dynamically apply or assign those details. So I'm gonna use a different brush. Let's use this one, the Wrinkle Sharp. This is probably what I need for this one. All right, and you see that I already kind of like defined some of these lines. So I'm just gonna make use of them. Push this in, just kind of like exaggerate what I already have, right? And as I showed you in previous lessons, you can go ahead and use the smooth brush and just completely smooth out this indication of details, and then just create a new one completely. All right. Now, the other thing that you can do so that you can really see the areas that you need to affect or tweak in terms of the wrinkles is to enable the range. So I'm going to click on range. And this is something that we've used in the past. It's just going to load up a texture file that contributes to the areas that are going to be affected when we use these brows and we just push them up. So we're going to concentrate the effect on these areas. Let's go to render. We also covered this in previous videos. We're gonna lower the opacity a little bit. Let's switch to the damp standard brush and push this all the way down a bit more. I'm trying to maintain like an asymmetrical detail here as well, so that it's more realistic. All right, not too bad. Let's go ahead and add a bit of volume. Like I said, depending on how extreme this is, we can add a bit of volume with the standard brush. So just adding a tiny bit of compression, and it's probably very visible. Like if you look at it from this angle, it is pretty flat. So I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of volume, and I'm not pressing very hard at all. But now if you look at it from the side, it still needs a bit more volume actually. You see, it has like this sort of compression, and it's producing the bulging of these areas. All right, so just keep in mind that everything that you're doing in terms of volumes here is only going to be translated as a normal map. So if you want to, edit this with the wrinkles and the expressions, you can do it in one single go. And here's an important thing to remember. With this tutorial series, my goal is to break down the process in easy, digestible steps that you can follow. But if you want to, you can actually create the wrinkles alongside your expression. So you can combine the effect of the previous video and this one in a single go. So all I'm doing now is adding those details in the highest subdivision level, but I can very much well go ahead and go to the geometry palette, maybe go to the subdivision level 1, or maybe not that much, subdivision level 2, and I can actually edit the volumes a little bit easier. It doesn't matter really in which subdivision level you do it. It's just that working on larger, large proportional changes and increasing volumes like I'm doing right now in a low subdivision level is a lot easier to control, and you end up with things that are a lot cleaner than if you try to do the same thing in high subdivision level. So really what I'm doing right now is editing the expression similar to what we did in the previous video. And in this video, all we're doing is the same process, but we're doing it in the highest subdivision level with all the details. The really cool thing about this whole process and what makes this plugin so interesting is that we can decide at the time that we send it back to CC4 if we want to send the expressions that we edited, in other words, the main sort of secondary volumes and forms, or if we want to send just the wrinkles as a form of, or as a normal map, or if we want to send both at the same time. Don't worry, I'm going to cover all of that in just a second, but I want to make sure that you understand the difference. So I'm breaking down this in different steps or different videos, but you could, if you wanted to, adjust the expression at the same time that you also tweak the crevices and all of these wrinkles that are formed. So I'm happy with this one. Let's go ahead and do one more before we wrap it up. Let's go ahead and click on the mouth poker, for example. And because we have the range switch enabled, it's going to update the range or with a different texture. Right, so subdivision level 7, and I'm just gonna go ahead and let's use the standard brush actually to enhance the volume of some of these lines as well. Again, look at the reference, see how they change. What are the volumes that are more prominent? And let's switch back to the damp standard brush. This is a process that takes time, and I would actually spend a lot more time than what I'm doing right now. I just want to give you the overall workflow so that you can spend time doing this on your own. Because at the end of the day, what I'm doing is it's actually really simple. It's just a matter of use the references so you get something more realistic, and be patient and adding those details manually. But that is the idea, right? So I just added those lines, so that is perfect. Right, so now let's go ahead and add one more, actually, so that we can have a few options to compare it. So let's click on the eye squint. So we've done 1, 2, 3, and this one is going to be the fourth one. And there we go. As you can see, this one is pretty limited, or the range that you can use to create these wrinkles is pretty limited. So let's go ahead and use the damp standard brush to add some lines like so. So I'm just going to exaggerate some of these compression folds that are formed when the character sort of squint the eyes. So I'm just going to add a couple of them in there. Same thing here. Maybe we can add a tiny bit more around the nose. All right, so not too bad. And I think I want to do one more just because this area we haven't touched it too much. So I'm going to click on nose sneer. You don't have to turn on and off the layers. That's what the plugin does automatically for you. So you can switch between one and the other, and you will automatically be in that sort of layer, adjusting the wrinkles for that layer. All right, so that's a lot better. Let's go ahead and use the damp standard brush to add the sort of compressions here. And of course, we can also use the standard brush just to add a bit of volume. All right, so I'm kind of like rushing through this process. Like I said, this is something that would take time to adjust all of these things, but it's actually a very fun practice if you want to add these type of details. So I think we've done 5, and that's enough just to showcase the whole idea. I'm going to go ahead and click on Update to Character Creator, and this is where the magic happens. All right, so we get the pop-up window here, and this is where we can decide what we're going to actually send back to CC4. Now, at this point, I just want to say that if you're interested in seeing the entire process of me sculpting these details and how I approach the adding of these wrinkles, of these dynamic wrinkles in ZBrush, there is also a bonus lesson, which is just a time lapse of me sculpting all the details for all the expressions at the end of this video series. So when you get to this window, this is where it becomes relevant whether or not you decide to adjust your expression morphs and your wrinkles at the same time, because you can totally do it. So I'm going to turn off the base update because we're not doing anything with the base. And in here, we can go ahead and update the expression morphs if we want to, right? If you did some like large proportional changes and you added more volume to it, you can totally update your expression morphs, or you can just update the wrinkles to the normal map. So you see, that's why you have these two here. Now, in order to keep things organized and every step kind of like separate in its own video, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the expression morphs. This is what we did in the previous video. So right now we're just concentrating on the wrinkles. So you see we have the normal map enable. So with this wrinkle to normal enable, and obviously the normal switch enable, which is going to be creating a normal map, I'm going to actually change the resolution to 4K. I'm going to deselect all, and then I'm going to enable the ones that we actually tweak. So we took this one, the mouth pucker, the mouth smile, the nose sneer, and one more. The brows up compress, I think. No, we did another one. So smile, brows raise, the eye squint. All right, so these 5, these are the ones that we worked on in these layers. Now, if you leave everything selected and send it, it's not going to be a problem. It's just that, those expressions are going to have no wrinkles at all. But you can come back and tweak them later if you wanted to. So just those 5s, let's go ahead and click on Update to CC4. All right, so file successfully exported. Let's go ahead and switch to CC4. And as you can see, we have this little pop-up window asking us what we want to do. So we're going to activate the expression wrinkles. This is because this current project doesn't have any dynamic wrinkles. So I'm going to activate it, or I'm going to click on Update to activate that. And it's going to use that normal map that is created from what we sculpted in ZBrush and applied the dynamic wrinkles. So pretty simple stuff. You get this pop-up, click on Update, and then just wait a little bit. All right, so CC4 finished generating all those dynamic wrinkles, and as you can see, straight away it sort of like generates those maps. So let's go ahead and do a quick test. I'm going to click on Edit Facial here, and let's actually use the corners of the mouth. I'm going to push this down, and you'll see how this nice wrinkle that we created in ZBrush, just gets generated as we use or as we push this up. And we can do exactly the same thing for the bottom one if we wanted to. So I would recommend just go through all the different expressions and create the wrinkles for all of them. I'm going to also test the other ones that we created. So let's push the eyebrows up. So you see, we just add these wrinkles here. That works perfectly fine. We also have the mouth pucker actually. So let's set this back down a bit. And I'm going to use this controller to create those wrinkles here. Yeah, so everything is working fine. You see the wrinkles are generated dynamically. So a really easy, a very convenient way of working. And as you can see, the expression is very, very powerful, right? Once you have these additional lines, these dynamic wrinkles. I'm going to reset it back to 0. And the other one that we need to test out is the squinting of the eyes, I think. Yeah, and the nose. The sneering of the nose. Yeah, so that's also working fine. We have those nice expressions happening here, right? And the tiny bits, the tiny wrinkles that we created for the eyes as well when he squints. Perfect. So a lot of information and a lot of things happening in this video, but ultimately all you have to do is send your character to ZBrush using the ZBrush Face Tool plugin. In ZBrush, you just go to the highest subdivision level by clicking in the one that, or in the expression that you want to add your wrinkles to. The plugin is going to automatically give you the range if you have that enabled, and you can, in the highest subdivision level, whether it's the 6th subdivision level or the 7th one, you can go ahead and add your wrinkles. Once you're happy with all of them, click on Update Character Creator 4, and it automatically is going to apply them in the system. So you'll have all your nice wrinkles happening dynamically. Let's go ahead and test only one side so that you can see what I mean. So remember, we sculpted the entire kind of like forehead when the character had the eyebrows raised up. So right now I'm only pushing one up, and you'll see we're still getting all those wrinkles in one single go. All right, so that's pretty cool. All right, so that's about it for this video. In the next one, we're going to concentrate on actually creating a nice expression that we can use for a render. I'll see you there.